You know, every time we think the gaming industry's finally cleaned up its act, something new comes along and reminds us just how easy it is for these companies to just pull the wool over our eyes. Gaming has had some truly incredible moments over the years, but it's also been home to some of the biggest scams, bait and switches, and total betrayals that you could possibly imagine. Today, I'm going to talk about it. Just a straight, deep conversation about the greatest scams in gaming history. The ones that really shook the community. Let's start with one of the most infamous ones. Bear with me here. No Man's Sky. When this game was first announced, it felt like the future of gaming had arrived. A fully procedurally generated universe with trillions of planets to explore. Wild alien creatures and massive multiplayer battles. Gigantic fleets in space. It's like Star Wars! Hello Games were like Picasso, painting this beautiful picture like we were going to be living out the ultimate sci-fi fantasy. I remember watching those early trailers and thinking, this is it. This is like the next leap forward. This is gaming. It wasn't just hype. I mean, it was a bit of hype, but it was also hope. Real, genuine, naive hope. But when the game finally dropped, oh boy. It was nothing like what had been promised, and let's look into it. Planets were barren and repetitive. Alien creatures felt stitched together from random parts like a bad Mr. Potato Head collection. Or like some of the toys in like Toy Story 2. I hated those. There was no real multiplayer to speak of, despite Sean Murray from Hello Games giving all kinds of winks and nudges that it would be there.
When you land on a planet like this, you're the first person who's ever been here.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Space battles? Tiny scripted encounters that lost their novelty after like 5 minutes. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Players demanded refunds. Steam reviews went thermonuclear, and Hello Games went completely radio silent for months. And honestly, for a long time, No Man's Sky became the case study for why you should never, ever trust pre-release hype. Now, to their credit, and look, I have to say this because it's important, Hello Games eventually did pull off one of the greatest redemption arcs in gaming history. They kept updating, they kept improving, and they made it right, as it should have been. And now, No Man's Sky is actually the kind of experience we all dreamed about all these years later. But at launch, it was a classic textbook case of the hype machine completely losing control, and players paying the price in the end. But honestly, No Man's Sky isn't even the worst offender. We're talking about one of my favorite companies now. Ooh, I love them. Ubisoft! For years, Ubisoft's trailers were practically legendary for all the wrong reasons. Every E3 without fail, Ubisoft would roll out these stunning, jaw-dropping demos. Watch Dogs, The Division, Rainbow Six Siege, yes, Rainbow Six Siege, Ghost Recon Wildlands, all of them looked absolutely insane at first glance. Take Watch Dogs for example, and I'm such a fool for this. When that first trailer dropped, it was like I was seeing the future. Look at his coat flapping in the wind, the rain, the suspense. This looks so next gen. It's got like dynamic weather systems, crowded reactive city streets, lighting effects so detailed you could almost feel the humidity bouncing off the pavement and my face. Everyone was blown away. Then the game launched, and it looked like this. Yeah, so gone were the reflections, the ambient lighting, the dynamic crowds. Instead, we got flat textures, muddy lighting, stiff animations, and a hacking system that basically boiled down to press X to magic the environment. Yeah. Awesome. I still bought it. It was so far removed from what we were shown that it genuinely felt like a scam. And the worst part, they just kept doing it. The Division promised tactical, squad-based combat with destructible environments. Tom Clancy would have loved this. What we got at launch, though, is something Tom Clancy would never want to see. A bullet sponge cover shooter where enemies soaked up 5 clips to the face. Here's a clip. Now, Rainbow Six Siege, despite its overwhelmingly high popularity today, promised dynamic breaching and environmental destruction so intense that every match would feel unique. Instead, at launch, the destruction was heavily scripted and quite limited compared to what they showed in the trailers. Ubisoft even got caught using bull shots, which are fake screenshots that were touched up and rendered way beyond what the final game could deliver. They mastered the art of baiting players into buying a dream, only to deliver a much more ordinary reality. Now, another legendary example is Aliens Colonial Marines. Gearbox Software, the studio behind Borderlands, of course, promised us the ultimate Aliens experience. They showed off gameplay demos that were dripping with atmosphere, gritty, terrifying, and cinematic. What we got instead? We got this. Textures that looked straight out of the early 2000s. Enemy AI that was practically non-existent and brain dead. Xenomorphs that would run straight past you, get stuck on walls, or just stand there doing completely nothing at all. And gunplay that felt cheap and weightless. And when players looked into it deeper, they discovered something horrifying. Much of the demo footage wasn't even real gameplay. Players felt robbed. Lawsuits were filed. And it became a poster child for false advertising in gaming. And then there's, bear with me, I know a lot of people love it right now, Cyberpunk 2077. Where do we even begin? CD Projekt Red wasn't just any studio. I mean, they were the good guys, and they still typically are. The underdogs who gave us Witcher 3, a game that earned an almost religious level of devotion from gamers. So when they announced Cyberpunk, it wasn't just hype. We trusted them. Night City was going to be this breathing, living, neon-drenched world, and we were promised branching storylines, dynamic AI, a next-gen RPG that would redefine the genre. You probably know where I'm going already because of the pattern of this video. It came out and it looked like this. The glitches were almost comical. Characters T-posing, cars flying through the air, faces like melting. Whole features were missing, and it was literally bricking some PS4 and Xbox One consoles. I mean, the console versions were so bad that Sony actually pulled the game off the PlayStation Store, something almost unheard of for a major release. And while patches eventually made the game playable, the damage to CD Projekt's reputation was catastrophic, to say the least. This wasn't just another bad game, it was a complete betrayal, because it was built on trust, and in the end, it was rushed. That didn't rhyme. And really, that trust we had was shattered. Now, it is a good game now. They did fix it. Lots of patches happened. There's still some quirks here and there, but the DLC is great. I love the DLC. You should check it out. But we just gotta, we gotta keep looking at how these games came out. Just, you can't forget about this stuff. These things exist. Anyway, it's not just the big AAA studios. Even the indie scene, our lovely little indie devs. We've seen some brutal scams from them too. Remember Mighty No. 9? Supposed to be the spiritual successor to Mega Man, led by the actual creator, and apologies if I didn't say this right, Keiji Inafune. Fans rallied behind it on Kickstarter, raising over $4 million. And what they got was a rushed, lifeless, ugly mess. Terrible visuals, awkward voice acting, and stiff, boring gameplay. It felt like the ultimate betrayal. Not just because the game was bad, but because it was like crowdfunded. It raised $4 million. And that was $4 million of our money, our faith. And it got completely mishandled. To make matters worse, the marketing was bizarre and alienating, kind of reminding me of like the Wii U advertising.
And make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night.
The very people that had funded the game in the first place. Mighty No. 9 wasn't just a failure. It was a cautionary tale about blindly trusting big names. And speaking of cautionary tales, we need to talk about Battlefield 2042. I'm another sucker for this. EA hyped this game to the moon with massive maps, dynamic weather events, next-gen destruction physics, and huge 128-player battles that'll have you going dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It sounded like a true Battlefield game, like a true return to form after the rocky launches of previous entries. But when it dropped, it was an unmitigated disaster. Empty, soulless maps, game-breaking bugs, broken weapon balancing, specialists replacing traditional classes. This was probably the worst part. This completely upended what made Battlefield, Battlefield. There was also no proper leaderboard. It looked like this. Not even kidding. The tornadoes and weather systems they bragged about? Little more than pretty background noise. Fans abandoned the game in droves, and player counts plummeted. EA had to pivot hard to try and save it. You could see this game on sale for $5 sometimes, but the damage was already done. And I think a lot of fans aren't touching this one and are pretty skeptical about future Battlefield releases at this point. Just had a bad run for one too many games. The scams don't stop there though. There are so many more, and we'll touch on a few of them. Anthem, BioWare's promised game-changing live service, that's the word you should look out for, RPG that launched as a hollow, repetitive grind with almost no content. Again, live service, what did we expect? Fallout 76, Bethesda's buggy, broken mess of an MMO that charged full price for what felt like a $20 beta test. And while it's a little better now, it's still underwhelming compared to previous Fallout games. Please make something like New Vegas again. E.T. for the Atari 2600. I'm not even sure if people knew this was good or not. I mean, if you only had an Atari, I guess people just expected games to look like this? It was one of the earliest gaming scams. I mean, a rush disaster so bad it almost destroyed the entire video game industry in the 1980s. Fable, Peter Molyneux's legendary overpromises about features that never made it into the final game. And while it's still a good game, oof, it was a shell of what it was actually supposed to be. You should look into that. Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, 14 years of promises and endless delays, and a final product that was a complete embarrassment. Best part of the game is when you could pick up poop and draw on the whiteboard and pee in the urinal.
Time to stop pissing around and get this big guy back into action.
The pattern is always the same. Overpromise, underdeliver, and hope people forget. Well, with this video, now you don't have to forget. At the heart of all this is a brutal truth. Marketing rules the gaming industry now. It's easier to spend $50 million on cinematic trailers and celebrity endorsement than to spend $50 million on quality assurance. And it works, because we let it work. We pre-order based on CGI trailers. We hype up games years before they're ready. We forgive too easily. And the industry's learned that it's cheaper to fix a broken reputation after launch than it is to delay a game and get it right the first time. But there's hope. It doesn't have to be like this. When players fight back, they demand better. Things can change. We saw it with No Man's Sky. We saw it with Final Fantasy XIV, another redemption story after a terrible launch. We've seen studios rebuild when they realize players won't just roll over. And that's the real lesson here. We deserve better. Better games, better honesty, better respect for the people who fund this entire industry. Us. And with the increasing costs of video games and development, I mean, shouldn't the focus be quality? We're the ones funding this. So the next time you see a gorgeous, jaw-dropping trailer, ask yourself, are they showing you the actual product or just selling you a dream? Because in gaming, dreams are easy to sell, but nightmares, they stick around with you much longer. And after all we've been through, we deserve to dream a little smarter. If you like this little deep dive on gaming scams and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the taco bell, and let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think these gaming scams have changed gaming forever? In what way? Good or bad? Let me know. And hey, let me know in the comments future topics you want me to talk about. And hey, I do have to mention, since I keep forgetting every time I record one of these, I do have channel memberships. Of course, not required, but if you decide to join, I think it's only a couple bucks a month. Unlike gaming scams, this isn't a scam. You will actually receive the benefits you pay for. And at the end of the video, there's going to be like a little shout out list once people start joining. So completely up to you, but just having you here is more than enough. And thank you for watching regardless. As always, I'll see you all in the next one.